Hi guys, welcome to our Facebook Live today. I'm Eleanor, I'm the social media manager here at Moms Meet. We are so excited to have you guys join us today. We've got the co-founder of Be Conscious with us, Matt Colmorgan, who is going to tell us more about their artisanal honey. So ever since he was a kid, he's had an affinity for honey, and now he is going to share that love with us. So thank you so much for joining us today. Oh, so we are having some audio issues, just to let our audience know. Unfortunately, sometimes these things happen with technology. There we go. So hopefully it'll be good.
Thank you for having me, and I'm very excited for the opportunity to share our story with all the amazing moms out there. So thank you very much.
Yeah. So before we jump in, just a little bit about Moms Meet for anyone who's new, who's tuning in. You can join at momsmeet.com for free to sample amazing products and be a part of our great community. So today's event is brought to you by Be Conscious, and we can't wait to learn more about honey from Matt. So why don't we just jump right in, especially since, you know, our audio stuff is a little funky today. So we really want to get into it before we lose you again.
Perfect.
So we've got some prizes. 5 lucky winners are going to be getting a 6-pack sampling kit from Be Conscious. So it's going to have 4 Brazilian organic honeys, Montana clover honey, and California sage honey, which just sound absolutely amazing. We're going to talk to you guys a little bit more about those, but these are really special. So these 6-packs aren't available for purchase right now. So these 5 lucky winners are really going to be able to get an extra something special from Be Conscious. So thank you so much for offering that prize to us. So comment, like, and share for your chance to win. We're going to announce the winners on Monday. So we want to know in the comments, what do you guys like using honey for? So, woo, yeah. So I'm so excited to jump into our discussion. I really love honey. It's one of my favorite sweeteners, and you can use it in all sorts of different recipes and stuff. And of course, honey in my tea is one of my favorite things. I love just, you know, having that little sweetness, coats your throat a little nicely. So can you tell us a little bit more about the difference between raw honey and regular honey? I'm not sure I really know the distinction there.
Absolutely. And first off, can you hear me?
Yes.
So yes, we hear that a lot. And raw honey, when it comes down to it, is honey in its purest form. It's never been adulterated. It's never been filtered, and it's never been pasteurized. So heated past a certain temperature, which kills off all the pollens. And what we think of as regular honey, right? And there's terms out there that they use on labeling. It's just marketing ploy, but you'll see terms like 100% real honey or 100% pure honey. And in fact, you know, many cases, those have been blended, mixed, heated, added corn syrup, feed their bees sugar water, a lot of things that go into that. So there's a major distinction between the two.
Interesting. So when you talk about cooking honey, does that mean like when you bake it and stuff that it removes some of the health benefits, or like when you heat it up too much beyond a certain point?
Yeah, that's absolutely a very valid assumption. That's true. If you think about when you're baking, right, you put cookies in the oven for 20, 25 minutes, you bake a cake for over an hour. That honey is susceptible to those high temperatures. So a lot of times you will be cooking off some of the pollens and everything that's in it, but also keep in mind, you are using an absolute natural sweetener in those particular dishes that you're making, right? There's also ways around that. For instance, when I make barbecue sauces, I always add the honey at the end after I've taken the ingredients off the stovetop. That way they aren't exposed to that excessive heat. You can do the same thing when you make drinks or make salad dressings. There's a lot of ways to incorporate it in that sense, but you're absolutely right that if you cook it for long periods of time, you're going to adulter the honey, but keep in mind as well, it's still a very natural sweetener.
Yeah, that's really good to know. The barbecue sauce tip is great too. But you know, all the health benefits that you kind of hear about with honey and stuff, especially with raw honey. I feel like you hear that a lot about raw honey. I know we use it when I was sick as like a cough suppressant and stuff like that, but there are so many more benefits than just that, right?
Absolutely. And you think about what is in the honey, right? It is, of course, there's sugar in it, but all of the vitamins, the enzymes, the minerals, the amino acids, the pollens, all of those things are going to have a positive impact on the way that our body reacts. And, you know, we think about things, the old mom and pop uses, as you mentioned, as a cough suppressant, as a sleep aid. Some people use it because of its antimicrobial properties. They'll cover small cuts with it to help heal wounds. And there's actually a doctor located down in Colorado Springs, Dr. Fessenden. He wrote a book called The New Honey Revolution. And I'm not a doctor, and I'm not making any claims about our honey specifically. But he has written a couple of books where he has actually prescribed his clients honey and it's helped with different things like diabetes, high cholesterol, blood pressure,
Wow.
obesity, several different things like that. Again, not making any claims, but he talks about, again, because of the chemical makeup of honey, how our body breaks it down and reacts. It does help, in many instances, other than, the everyday uses that we're just used to.
Yeah, that's amazing to hear about. I mean, yeah, it's like not claiming anything, but it really sounds like there are so many other benefits. And eating honey obviously is like something that you can do in a bunch of different ways to get those health benefits. But when you're looking to purchase honey, and you're saying there's a lot of like 100% pure, whatever stuff along those lines. I realized like I had never really thought about that. And usually I just, go into the grocery store and I'm like, oh, I'll get some honey. 100% natural. Sounds great. Put it in the cart. But are there other things that we really need to be looking out for when we're purchasing honey? Like little tips or something on what's on the label, that sort of thing?
Absolutely. So, you mentioned the raw and the pure and the real, and keep out for those terms. Again, a lot of times it's a marketing ploy. But also, I think it's important to recognize the country of origin. And so we know where the food is coming from. And, you may think you're buying one thing, but in fact, you might be buying another. And it's required in the honey business. Every jar of honey that's sold has to have the country of origin label on it. And
Okay.
one prime example that I will share is a company that sells very high-end honey in terms of price. I went to a tasting room with one of my young children, and we were doing some R&D and tasting all these different honeys, and they were delicious. But when you went to pick up a jar, on the front label, it said one ingredient, pure Montana clover honey. And then you flip over the back of the label and it says product of origin from Uruguay, Brazil, and the United States, meaning it's in fact blended from many different parts
Yeah.
around, and they're selling it as pure Montana clover honey. So that's something to look out for in terms of the honey itself. Raw honey tends to crystallize very quickly. A lot of people think it goes bad when it crystallizes, but that's a sign that you have some really high quality honey, because the sugar,
Okay.
all the pollens that are in there, and it speeds up that process of crystallization. So that's also a pretty telling sign that you have raw honey is how quickly in the jar it crystallizes. We have one that crystallizes immediately after we pack it. It's crystallized in a couple of days.
Wow, that's actually really good to know though, because I never realized that. And I was of the camp that was like, oh, it's crystallized, it's old, it must be bad. So get rid of it, we'll buy a new jar. But that's great to know.
Put it in some hot water, and
Mhm.
if you like it that way, it'll dissolve back into its liquid state. The honey here sometimes like it that way, the texture in their mouth and things of that nature.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's so interesting to think about. Yeah, I have to keep that in mind next time I'm looking for honey too. Is reading the back of the label, because that is like something that you wouldn't even think about when it says 100% pure whatever honey on the front, that it's actually not 100% pure.
No, that's the key. And again, it comes down to the marketing of it.
Yeah. So because you guys obviously are very aware of this kind of stuff and you don't pasteurize your honey or adulterate in any way, that means that the honey that you guys are producing at Be Conscious is going to be like full of those health benefits and stuff, right? It's like got all of the things that we're looking for in raw honey.
Absolutely. And again, disclosure, I'm not a doctor, so I'm not making those. However, we do guarantee that you will receive the highest quality, purest raw honey that you can get. It literally comes from the beekeeper. We put it in a jar, and then it comes directly to you. And every single jar that we sell, we have them here, have these little QR codes, and it will tell you the name of the beekeeper that harvested that jar of honey. So we actually have the traceability proof that we're bringing it straight from the hive.
That's amazing. Yeah, that just sounds like something that I need to sign up for right away. So I definitely want to start jumping into some more questions about Be Conscious. But before we do, I want to share our discount code with our moms, which we'll share again. So don't worry for anyone who's watching. But you want to use code MOMS20. You'll get 20% off any purchase over $20 on bkshoney.com. So Be Conscious, bkshoney.com. And it's going to get you free shipping as well, which I love free shipping, one of my favorite things. And right now, you definitely want to take advantage of this code because there is a special 3-pack that they put together just for us moms out there. So you want to go head over to their website and take advantage of that. Yeah. Ooh, there it is. Beautiful. So you're going to get that at a discounted price because it's a bundle, and then you get the 20% on top of it, and then you get the free shipping. So you really can't beat that. So make sure you check that out. But like I said, we'll put this code up a little bit later on as well. So don't panic if you didn't take a screenshot of it. All right, so I'd love to now jump into some questions about Be Conscious. So obviously, as the founder, we'd love to know what inspired you to come up with Be Conscious. Where did you get this idea?
So it's kind of a combination of many things, but I've always had a passion for food and love for food. I've always had a love for honey, and I jokingly tell people that my first remembrance or memories of honey was having little honey packets with some chicken nuggets that my parents would get me from a certain fast food place. But I come to realize that that's not the real stuff. But that was my first tasting of it. But in my life, I traveled a lot. I had a traveling job for my corporate career, and
Mhm.
everywhere I went, I always just loved tasting the different honeys, and you begin to see all the different flavors and the floral notes and what the different flowers, how they all provide uniquely different types of honey. So there's that combination, and a very good friend of ours is has been in the industry, the commercial industry for some time, and he had industry knowledge and knew my passion for food, and we talked about it for some time, and we came up with this idea that let's create a brand of bringing the purest product, because he's seen the dirty secrets in the dirty world, and that's how we came up with our brand, Be Conscious. Right, we're not only conscious about what we put into our body and everything of that, but we're conscious of the honey and the product, and we're also very, very conscious. We're beekeeper conscious. We're
Mhm.
very conscious of the partners that we work with, and the work that they do. I've worked in some bee yards, and it is backbreaking work, but all of
Mhm.
that come together is really how we created our brand called Be Conscious.
Yeah, I love that name. I think it's so creative and smart. And as soon as you hear it, you're like, oh, yes. So, what makes Be Conscious honey so different than other brands? I know we talked a little bit already about not being pasteurized and stuff like that, but are there other things that really set you guys apart?
Sure, there's absolutely other companies that don't pasteurize their honey and keep it in the raw form. But our brand is, I'm a certified honey taster, and for some that might sound funny, but
That
I
sounds awesome. I want that job.
I like to equate it to a wine sommelier,
Mhm.
or wine sommelier, depending on how you pronounce that. But uh, we are literally trying to find the highest quality, best tasting honey on the planet, and that's what we're trying to do, and bring it to you as best as possible in its purest form, in its rawest form. But that's really what it is. It comes down to the taste, and it comes down to the quality of the product. And that's really what we're trying to do. And you'll notice that every honey we have is a single origin, meaning it comes from a single source, and we're really focused on the flavor profile that those are able to provide.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I love how you had that little QR code, like you were saying about the beekeepers. But with this rigorous stuff that you're going through to make sure you're getting the best honey, how do you choose the beekeepers to partner with when it comes to that side of things? I feel like that's probably pretty important.
Sure, absolutely. We're trying to find people that do it the right way, right? Our first beekeepers that we went after were organic, and the reason behind it was because of how they care for their bees. They don't provide them with the mite treatment with antibiotics and
Mhm.
different things that many people add to the hives just to maintain the health of the hive, but that ultimately makes its way into the honey. So we
Mhm.
look at things like that. Do they feed their bees sugar water? Right? There's a lot of beekeepers that will take all the honey out of the hives, harvest it all, and then over the winter months they will put buckets of sugar water out, so the bees can feed, and ultimately that makes it into the honey. There's
Mhm.
other parts around the world, they don't let their bees pollinate on flowers. They just put buckets of sugar water out there, and that ultimately is what comes to us in some cases as honey. So we're
Mhm.
trying to look at people that do things the right way, and how they care for their bees, and again looking for the ones that have the best tasting honey.
Mhm. So with the sugar water thing, is there something behind that that's more sustainable or ethical or something when you have bees that are going out and pollinating? I know pollinators are like a huge topic right now too.
Absolutely. We know the importance of bees in terms of pollinating all of the crops and the vegetables and fruits that we eat, right? That's a
Mhm.
huge aspect in the bees dying off. But there's nothing that's going to say harm the bees in that sense. But
Mhm.
I think it's kind of dirty when the bees are feeding on sugar water, and then they're selling it and marketing it as pure honey, right? So
Yeah.
that's just part of the underlying world of adulterated foods, and honey is one of the most adulterated ones on the planet.
Yeah, wow. That's crazy to think about too. So, I just a quick question, just because I know this is probably something our moms are wondering too. Are there any groups of people out there who shouldn't consume real honey?
Yeah, I mean, so the science and the research out there says anybody under 1 year of age, so under 12
Okay.
months. And the reason behind that is because it's a raw product.
Mhm.
There is a concern of botulism. But other
Yeah.
than a researcher, there's no studies that would limit anybody from taking this or eating this raw product.
Awesome. So, Flavors. This is something that for our moms watching, I had a conversation with Matt about this before our live event, just because it was something I wasn't as familiar with. But you hear flavors of honey all the time, and then lavender, this, that, and the other thing. So can you tell us a little bit more what those flavors really are and like where these actually come from?
Yeah, so I'll first draw a line and say that you go to some farmers markets or you go to some stores and they might have lavender honey or cinnamon honey or vanilla honey. In actuality, they probably didn't have very good tasting honey, and then they infused it with something. Right? Have some lavender branches in it, some cinnamon sticks, and then they sell it as that flavor of honey, right?
Okay.
Everything that we sell when we talk about our flavor, we refer to it more as a varietal, like a wine.
Okay.
But it's every flavor that is in our honey comes from the pollens and the nectars that the bees are pollinating on. That's it. So when we talk about, we'll get into some of these, but Marmalade prateado is a rainforest flower in Brazil that only flowers for like 2 months a year. And these bees love this thing. So they come after to produce a very sweet, fruity honey, tastes like marshmallow, slight rose petals at the end. But all of those flavors that are in our product, it's coming strictly from the flower source. We're not adding anything. But a lot of times when you see that, it is in fact infused honey to provide.
Interesting. So can you tell us a little bit more about what varieties, flavors, now I'm gonna not know what to say, but which varieties, you offer, and then how you kind of describe the flavor of each, because you're saying the infusion, that's interesting. It's like not great tasting honey.
So we'll run through. We have nine honeys on our lineup. And every one is vastly and uniquely different. And, we try to, again, we're working our way around the world, but we have 4 organic honeys. The first one here is Marmalade, as I mentioned, the prateado. It's very sweet. It's fruity. On the nose, it's floral, but you don't get that floral note until the trail end of the honey on your palate. So it's awesome. My kids love eating this one with a spoon. If I left them with this, the jar would be gone in minutes. The next one here is the Brazilian wild mint. It's exactly that. It's very earthy. There's a very slight menthol flavor in this, and when you on the nose, it smells very earthy. You get that slight menthol. Again, pollinating on just the mint flower.
Yeah, that's fascinating though. You're saying you get that mentholy flavor, but it's not infused, like you don't mix the mint in. That's really interesting.
Very faint, and so that makes a great addition to a lot of people like that in their tea.
Yes.
Christmas berry, it's the Auroria plant, also known as the pink pepper tree. This one is very dark. It's marshmallow-like in flavor, and on the back end, it has like a bitterness of cocoa, which is super cool. And when a lot of people taste this, they're very surprised by it based on the color of how it actually tastes. And you'll notice, again, the spectrum of honey. Most honeys you see in the store don't look like what I just showed you, right? In terms of black or light, everything is kind of this amber golden color, and that's because they're all blended to look a certain way and to really taste a certain way, right?
Yeah.
We have a Cepa uva. This tastes like dates and figs. We didn't have a lot of crop at the beginning when we launched that, but that's going to be repackaged here pretty soon. California sage. It's a very sought after because it doesn't harvest every year because of the droughts, but it's mildly sweet. It's earthy. Maybe a hint of vanilla in there. It's a very, very popular honey, and that's one, because of the sugar content is so low, will never crystallize. So that's a very unique honey when we talk about the crystallization of raws. California sage honey will never crystallize.
Interesting.
We also have Montana clover. This is one of our most popular. You get hints of cinnamon and vanilla and nutmeg. If you toast, it'll taste like a cinnamon roll. I mean, this is awesome. Super sweet as well. And then our 3 Bulgarians are the newest addition. We have first is, I mentioned, lavender. This is pollinating on the lavender flowers. It does not taste like lavender. It smells very sweet on the nose. When you taste it, it's very fruity. And I mean, everybody's different when they talk about what they eat because it's based on their food experiences. But I think this tastes like biting into a fresh peach, and it is awesome.
Ooh. I see a comment come in. I'm drooling. Yeah, me too.
Think about that on some yogurt with fruit. Really awesome. The coriander. This is I would say a pretty cool one as well. Kind of get toasted coconut in there. Some people say it's slightly citrusy or maybe hints of black licorice. But again, this one is super unique. I have a good friend that's starting to make mead with this at his meadery up in Connecticut. So
that's so cool.
Really cool stuff. And then the last one here is the Acacia. This is a mildly sweet, again, slightly earthy honey, kind of has those hints of vanilla, but this one is unique because we actually included a sliver of honeycomb in there. You can see that.
Oh, neat.
So some people like that on their charcuterie boards, or they'll spread
Mhm.
it on toast and it kind of melts its way around. So that's just something different that we decided to package here recently.
Wow, those all sound amazing. I like want to get all of them now. So do you have a favorite? I know you mentioned your kids really liked, oh my gosh, it was one of the first ones you showed, which I can't
No,
remember.
Marmalade Prateado is my kid's favorite without
Mhm.
question. I like the clover a lot. I'm becoming a huge fan of the Christmas berry. I think it's just such a unique honey, but it's just the texture and the flavor on your tongue. It's one of my favorites. That's the one I make my barbecue sauces with, and
Ah,
one that
yes.
we try to use in everything. And then the clover, I mean, you could just sit there and eat that with a spoon too. Just again, tastes like you're eating candy sometimes. So those are probably my two favorites at this point in time.
Mhm. Eating candy, but you're getting potentially all of those health
Oh,
benefits.
you know,
Yeah. I mean, honey is just so much better for you too. If you think about like processed sugars and stuff, like is that all natural raw honey? So I wouldn't feel guilty just sitting there eating it with a spoon. It would be great. So do you have any recipes? I know you mentioned barbecue sauce or like any other favorite ways that you use it, cooked or not cooked, I know, depending on.
I mean, we'll put it. So my kids, we don't drink a whole lot of soda in my house, or depending on
Mhm.
where you're in the country, pop. Some people, that's how I grew up with it. They think it's honey mixed with lemon and seltzer water. That's what my kids think pop is.
Mhm.
So we drink a lot of that in our house. It's nice, refreshing. On if you want an adult beverage, you can doctor that up a little bit.
Mm.
Obviously, with different sauces, salad dressings. One of my favorites. My wife is typically the baker in our family.
Mhm.
But for her birthday, I have to, of course, bake the cake.
Mhm.
But the past several years, I took out all of the sugar in the cake and only used honey. Uh, and it tastes unbelievable. You taste the honey in it; it tastes different, and it's super moist. But so you can really use it in anything. Energy bites on the go with peanut butter, honey, some oats,
Oh, yeah.
pick some dried cranberries or something in there. My kids will eat those before their little soccer practices or whatever. So there's a ton of ways you can incorporate it. We try to use it in most meals that we have throughout the day.
That's amazing. So, can you give us a little sneak peek again of that sampler box that you have going on?
Yep. So we actually created two for Mom's Meat.
Oh, two. Perfect.
Because everything is so popular these days, we wanted to try and highlight some. So here's the one I mentioned. These ones include some of my favorites here. These are the clover, the sage, and the Christmas berry. These are also some of our most popular.
Mhm.
So you kind of get a plethora of some of the different honeys. And then this one we kind of called our herb pack. And this is all of the different. This is the sage, the lavender, and the coriander.
Okay.
See, you can get all the different uniquenesses of what everything that provides. And again, it doesn't taste like sage, it
Mhm.
doesn't taste like lavender, and it doesn't taste like coriander. I promise you that. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I can't wait to try these. But yeah, for our moms who are watching right now, you want to use that code that I mentioned earlier. We'll put that up again for you. It's moms20, and that's going to get you 20% off your purchase of $20 or more and free shipping. But these kits are perfect. They're already discounted from that bundle, and then you get the 20% off. The free shipping is just perfect. You can use it. We've got holidays coming up. Perfect for holiday stuff if you're entertaining. I know you mentioned charcuterie boards. Or, if you're looking for like a nice gift for someone, I feel like this is also a perfect option because you get those varieties. So I absolutely love this. I'm so excited to try some of the honey. But yeah, Moms20, take advantage of it right now. Head over bkshoney.com to take advantage of that code. So thank you so much for joining us today, Matt. This has been so insightful for me. I know I learned a lot about this.
It was a pleasure, and thanks so much for having me, and really appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, of course. So thank you to all of our moms for tuning in. Make sure you comment, like, and share this video for your chance to win. And definitely head over and take advantage of that, the code MOMS20 on bkshoney.com. So thank you all for joining us today. And we hope you guys have a great rest of your week and weekend. Thank you and goodbye, guys. We'll see you next time.